On paper, Salem is a quiet Boston suburb, but physically, its narrow colonial streets groan under the weight of a massive, haunting global reputation. When most people plan a trip here, they're seeking a somber connection to the events of 1692. We expect the heavy, tragic reality of the witch hunts we learned about in grade school. Then you arrive, and you are instantly met with neon psychics, new age occult shops, and party-till-you-drop commercial kitsch. In the 1960s, a hit sitcom brought Samantha Stevens to town for a witches convention. That pop culture broadcast rewired Salem's brand from a site of colonial tragedy into a hub for supernatural entertainment. If you arrive here without a rigid plan, you will end up swallowed by that overlap. You'll waste your time and your travel budget wandering a tourist trap, experiencing a version of Salem you never actually wanted. 3 distinct identities compete here: the 1692 tragedy, pop culture, and maritime wealth. Their overlap is a commercial trap. First, the modern witch city spectacle of Halloween tourism. Second, the authentic footprint of the 1692 executions. Third, the 18th century maritime hub of immense seaport wealth. Navigating this landscape effectively requires committing to one primary lens and actively ignoring the rest. Without that filter, your itinerary will likely descend into a series of jarring, contradictory experiences. Let's look at this chart mapping out our options. If you prioritize high entertainment and spectacle over somber historical accuracy, you drop into Path 1, the spectacle tourist. Your focus is the pedestrian zones along Essex Street. You are here to explore the modern witchcraft revival popularized by figures like Laurie Cabot, browse the local Wiccan shops, and sit down for a tarot reading. If this is your path, you are likely aiming for the Haunted Happenings Festival in October, which requires navigating dense street scenes that feel more like a massive block party. But here are the trade-offs you must accept. Accessing this atmosphere means paying premium prices, stepping over a lot of commercial kitsch, and sharing the sidewalks with nearly 250,000 other visitors. It is a vibrant, bucket list trip if you want to celebrate. But if you want a quiet, educational immersion into Puritan history, this route will leave you frustrated. Going back to our chart, if you want high authenticity and low spectacle, you drop into Path 2. This is for the history purist aiming to understand the grim reality of the 21 people who were executed. The central challenge here is that authentic 1692 sites are surprisingly sparse. To find them, you actually have to look past the official tourist trail, the red line painted on the sidewalks, which has been heavily padded with unrelated attractions. Your primary architectural anchor is the Witch House, once the home of Judge Jonathan Corwin. It is the only remaining structure in Salem with direct, verifiable ties to the judges who presided over the trials. You also need to know exactly where to look for the execution site. You have to bypass the official monument on top of Gallows Hill, pull in behind a modern chain pharmacy at the bottom of the hill, and look up at Proctor's Ledge to find the actual location. From there, your map consists of the Bearing Point Cemetery and the unassuming patch of ground behind the old Salem jail, where Giles Corey was pressed to death for refusing to confess. But it rewards you with the unvarnished facts of America's most infamous panic. Our final option on the chart sits high on authenticity, but pulls away from the trials entirely. Path 3 is for the cultural generalist who recognizes Salem's actual historical engine was its time as a global seaport. In the 18th century, the shipping trade brought in riches that made Salem a busier, wealthier port than either Boston or New York. You start your exploration here, across the 9 acres of the Salem Maritime National Historic Site. To see what those East India riches actually bought, you take a walking tour through the McIntyre Historic District. The pristine, grand mansions lining these streets are a massive architectural departure from the dark, heavy Puritan homes. This path also holds a distinct literary layer. You can follow the footsteps of author Nathaniel Hawthorne, a man who famously added a W to his last name to distance himself from a grandfather who served as an unrepentant judge during the witch trials. The capstone for this route is the Turner Ingersoll Mansion. This treasure of first-period architecture is the exact building that inspired Hawthorne's novel, The House of the Seven Gables. Path 3 completely strips away the spooky aesthetic. It turns your visit into a refined look at high society civic history and classic American literature. If you try to cram a psychic reading, the execution sites, and the maritime mansions into a single weekend, you are guaranteeing travel burnout. We can organize these decisions into a simple scorecard to lock in your itinerary. If you are the reveler, you lean into the spectacle. Visit in October, embrace the kitsch, and pack your patience for massive crowds. If you are the purist, you arrive in the off-season. You ignore the heavily padded Red Line tour, and you actively hunt down somber realities like Proctor's Ledge. If you are the cultural traveler, you bypass 1692 entirely. You spend your days exploring the McIntyre district, the seaport, and Hawthorne's literary footprint. Salem is a densely packed, incredibly rewarding destination. But to get the most out of it, you need the discipline to decide exactly which version of history you are actually there to see.